What up, YouTube? Want to make this video real quick, specifically about the Northern Illinois Huskies and their options in this entire uh, realignment, conference dominoes thing like that's going on right now. Essentially, I think by the time all the dust settles, there's going to be at least a solid 4 conferences that are really in the mix, right? 4 conferences. 2 of them we clearly know at the moment. There's the Pacific Athletic Conference and there's the Mountain West Conference. How did the Mountain West Conference end up in their situation? Well, the Pacific Athletic Conference essentially was able to take, you could say, the best 5 from the Mountain West. Really, the best team, I'm pretty sure everybody would agree, is Boise State. So when Oregon State and Washington State were able to convince Boise State to come on over, clearly, yeah, if you're Fresno and you're San Diego State, you're going to probably want to jump on the bus as well. Then you also had Colorado State, and then most recently, Utah State. I want to say they were the last of the Mountain West teams, I believe, who was able to get approached and get brought in. What I really think is happening, I think the Pac, they're not just trying to settle and be, I don't think their goal is to be, we want to be the best group of 6 conference. I don't think that's what they're trying to do. That could end up happening if their plan falls a bit short, but I don't think that's their goal. I think their goal is to get back to what would essentially be considered a power conference. And the only true way of pulling that one off is if they essentially get back a nice little handful of their former members. I think there's going to end up being a hard push to try to get Arizona State, Stanford, UC Berkeley, and Utah, as well as BYU. Utah really has absolutely no reason. Like, Utah, out of all those teams, out of all the ones I just listed, Utah is essentially at this point the best team out of all the ones I just named. Even when Utah was in the Pacific Athletic Conference, Utah was a contender for quite a few seasons, right? Utah came from the Mountain West into the Pac, made that huge jump, huge transition, and things have gone well for them. Same thing happened when TCU joined the Big 12. A bunch of years before that, TCU moved to the Big 12, jumped right in, made the transition. Their program's only grown and just kept growing, and they're successful. Utah, if they were to come back to the Pac, I think they are just straight out the best team in that conference. I don't see, other than Boise State, I don't see another team that's like a straight up contender, right? There is no flat out contender. Utah is going to be preseason, pick to win the conference, right? Boise State will be a close second, and then everybody else is just kind of, up for grabs who will actually do what. But if I'm Utah, maybe I consider going back. What that then creates is a situation where you now have this newly formed Pacific Athletic Conference. You have too many known brands, right? Like I said, having Utah is huge. BYU, they're solid. All right, the money's there. Arizona State. The brand, like, Arizona State is a brand. I'd say Arizona State is more of a brand than Arizona. Like, the Sun Devil, So that's a brand. Like, you get these teams, Stanford is Stanford. Like, come on, UC Berkeley. Like, if you can get these teams to come back, you work on and figure out a way to get a solid deal. I don't think they'll be in a situation to try to be, let me not say greedy, but they won't be able to do what they did the first time, which is what got them into the situation they're in when their media rights deal expired. I remember, if I remember the way it went, ESPN did come to them and they were like, we'll give y'all however many dollars. I like viewing it from the payout. Like, that's what makes sense to me. And the payout for each individual team would have ended up being like 30 mil a year. So you can essentially kind of do the math on how much the deal would have been with ESPN. They turned, well, no, they countered, I believe, with like 50 something mil, and then things fell apart. No deal was struck. ESPN actually went to the Big 12. So the deal that was offered to the Pacific Athletic Conference by ESPN is actually a deal that ended up being taken by the Big 12. So those teams are getting a payout of like 30 mil plus a year, like 31, 32, something like that, right? I think if the PAC is able to pull back these former members, and I think you would cap it, like if you do that, if they can pull that off, because right now they're at 7, and this would be them bringing in 6. So yeah, they would be sitting there at 13 teams. Of course, you want to try to go for 14, but at that point, it's like, who else can you really bring in? Like, seriously, who else could you really get? Maybe Hawaii. Like, Hawaii, actually, in all honesty, seems like the only other school that could potentially make sense. But now let's transition to the Mountain West. But currently what's going on with the Mountain West, the teams that are left, so those 7 teams, have come to essentially a memorandum of understanding, right? They've come to an agreement that nobody else leaves, right? Let's stick together. Let's build. Nobody leaves. I want to say the 7 teams that are still there, you got the Nevadas, so you got UNLV, and you got, was that Reno? So UNLV and the University of Nevada. You got those 2. We got Hawaii and Air Force. You got Wyoming. I'm missing 2. I just can't think. San Jose State. Who am I missing? And New Mexico. So those are the 7 you have. It's I don't want to say it's rough, but the biggest brand out of all the ones I just mentioned, I guess you could technically say UNLV, right? Out of all the teams I just mentioned, right? The team that's in the best spot that you can kind of say, I guess, is the leader in a sense, would be UNLV. And then the sad part is UNLV has their issues going on, you know, when it comes to their team, right? You got the damn starting quarterback basically did whatever the hell he's done. I'm going to redshirt the rest of the year, and I'm basically jumping back into the portal. So you got all that nonsense going on. So it's actually kind of rough, I feel like, with UNLV in the Mountain West right now. But like I said, those 7 teams, they came to some sort of agreement, understanding. Nobody else leave, especially not to the PAC, right? Because let's keep in mind, Oregon State and Washington State refused. They were like, no, we're not joining the Mountain West, even though the opportunity was there. I feel like they viewed it as the glass half empty POV would be, we refuse to join the Mountain West. Like, the Mountain West was below them. The glass half full story would be more of, no, we want to preserve the history of this conference. We want to keep it together, right? We don't want to see all these years just disappeared like that. So that's, that's what the, Mountain West recently essentially kind of did something. A lot of media is reporting this. Like, this is, for the most part, you can say it's confirmed, right? I mean, it's on ESPN. Like I said, a lot of media have been speaking about it. Mountain West, they're a bit more openly looking for their replacements compared to the Pack. The Pack, they made their move. They snagged the 5 that they snagged, and it seems like things have just kind of settled a little bit. Versus the Mountain West, things are just now starting for them. They're just now hitting a situation where it's like, oh, we need teams. Texas State, I want to say, essentially was the first name of a school the Mountain West is targeting. So it kind of starts with Texas State. Texas State, I believe Texas State is either in the Sun Belt or they're in the Conference USA. It's one of those two conferences. So they're trying to get Texas State. The reason why Texas State works, Mountain West has had a Texas team before, TCU. So, right, that'd be a nice little move. We can get back into Texas. We can get back into, like I said, Texas by adding Texas State. Geographically, it works a little bit because I'm like, yeah, you got New Mexico. That's not that far. Once again, you got Nevada. That's not that far, right? It works. It works. Texas has always been the state out of all the states in the country. Texas is just very well positioned to be all over the place, right? Like, Texas works in the SEC. Texas works in the Mountain West. Texas works in technically the ACC, I guess, right? You got SMU over there. Like, Texas is just well positioned, right? You now have the interesting thing. Now, me, I'm an NIU fan. I went to NIU. I'm an alum. I can say I've been an NIU fan since, let's say, at least 2004. So, I mean, this is going back to elementary school. I started high school in 2006. So, I've been an NIU fan for a long time. Like, I grew up playing the NCAA football games. NIU was always a team I played as. I want to say it was like NCAA 05 or 06. I can't remember which one. It was the one with the Heisman, right? You got Dez on the cover striking the Heisman pose. Right. That's my all-time favorite NCAA game. Right. I remember I want to say you have Garrett Wolf on there as your running back for NIU. I'm pretty sure Larry English is your big time defensive end. He's on, actually no, Larry English. He might have been a freshman. This might have been actually the young Larry English. So that's the funny part. But you for sure have Garrett Wolf, like, he's your running back, stud running back. You actually had a young Larry English. I want to say you had Doug Free on that NIU team, right? This is just me knowing the players from real life and who they were, like, oh, this is who this is on the game. But I had been a fan of NIU. I ended up going to NIU. My family went to NIU, right? It makes more sense why. Like, out of all the schools, like, why NIU? Like, when your family goes to a school, you tend to lean towards that school as well, right? I like Northwestern. I grew up liking Northwestern. U of I liked Juice Williams. Like, I'm a kid from the south side of Chicago. He went to CVS. Like, this is a CPS legend, Juice Williams. He went to Chicago Vocational. But I was an NIU fan growing up. This was the first time in my years, so basically we can say since like 04, this was the first time me ever really truly hearing a school, or no, a conference having interest in adding NIU. There's a difference between what happened in 2015 and 2015, 2016, whatever, of NIU trying to put together a resume, portfolio, whatnot, to join the Big 12. There's a difference, right? That was the Big 12. To me, that was a different Big 12. That was the Big 12 where you still had Texas, you still had Oklahoma. And to join the Big 12, right? It wasn't necessarily a situation of we're desperate, we want and need teams. It was more of a situation of we're willing to add a couple teams. Come with your best. We'll see who we want, right? And like I said, you still had Texas and Oklahoma, right? As long as you had Texas and Oklahoma, Gucci. Fast forward to today, Texas and Oklahoma are no longer in the Big 12, which sounds crazy. That sounds like, how does that even work? Because in my mind, I think a lot of people's minds, when you thought Big 12, you thought Texas, you thought Oklahoma. You literally thought technically two versions of Texas. Texas as a state, because you got a bunch of Texas schools, and you thought of the University of Oklahoma, and then of course like Texas as a school, UT Austin, right? That's the Big 12 to me. That's the Big 12, I think, to a lot of people. So when you have Texas and Oklahoma leave, right, the world changes. I think it then turned into, right, because we noticed the Big 12 started bringing in a bunch of teams. We noticed the Big 12 actually really super opportunistic moment for them was when the Pac-12 essentially fell apart. So they were able to snatch up four schools: Colorado, Utah, Arizona State. And then because Utah's joining the Big 12, actually I think BYU was already planned or part of the plan to join the Big 12, but you get what I'm saying. It just made it even more of a common sense thing, like, well, Utah's there, we definitely are in. NIU, for the first time, like I said, instead of us having to put a resume together, put a package together, try to convince with our 1% chance, right, trying to convince a conference to take us, right, this is the first time in all my years of being an NIU fan, another conference has supposedly openly, has interest in NIU. Mountain West. Like I said, the Mountain West has also shown interest in Texas State. But the Mountain West, I guess, supposedly communicated with the Mid-American Conference, we are interested in Northern Illinois and Toledo. Not just one, we're interested in both. You now create a very interesting situation by doing that. It wasn't just we're interested in, like I said, just one or the other. We're interested in both. And it's very specific why they're going after both. You're going after two of the best teams in the conference. Right? You're going after two of the best teams, the best programs in that conference over the last 20, 25 years. It's that simple. They're taking our best teams, or they want to take our best teams, and that's it. The MAC currently has UMass coming in, and then they would just need a replacement for NIU. Most likely, the most realistic replacement for NIU, either Middle Tennessee State or Western Kentucky. NIU is already the furthest, most west MAC team. We've always kind of been just like on our own little island. We're not super far. We're not Buffalo. Like, I feel like Buffalo is definitely far, and UMass will be even further. But NIU, like, we've been the furthest west school in that conference. Like we're technically closer, I believe. I'm pretty sure we may be closer or as equally close to Iowa State as we are to Ball State, right? So that was always been a thing, right, with NIU trying to get into the Big 12. But like I said, the Mountain West Conference, they're like, we're interested in NIU and Toledo. Specifically, though, football only. And what that creates, it actually creates a pretty dang positive situation that NIU can benefit from. NIU financially, and that was always the biggest fear, NIU financially like they just can't afford. They just can't afford to bring in, right? They can't afford to bring in all of their sports, like the travel. It'd be killer. But the beautiful thing about football, if we have 8 conference games you have to play, at least 4 will be home, 4 will be away. And you got your 4 non-conference games that you schedule, typically 2 home, 2 away. NIU can make it happen. NIU can make that travel work. They can do it. They can make the travel work. NIU's non-cons this season were Notre Dame, which is funny enough, Notre Dame is closer to us than Ball State is. So that didn't take no time to get to, right? We hopped on the bus, went to Notre Dame, beat them, came back home. In North Carolina State. Now, I don't know if they booked a flight and they flew over there, or, once again, they loaded up the buses and hit the road. It's possible. NIU can travel. They can get around. Now, NIU in the Mountain West, you got to look at it a little bit differently. They only want us for football, which, like I said, is a blessing in disguise because financially, the university is struggling. They would not be able to bring everybody in for full membership, right? And if I'm being honest, like, our basketball team, I don't know the last time we were truly, like, good. Like, there's been a couple seasons where it's like, NIU's actually doing a little something, but fall short. This is a blessing in disguise. It just is. It's a blessing in disguise. If you're telling me NIU's going to get XYZ cut, which will be significantly more than what they've had in the MAC, it doesn't make sense to not really truly think about it. Now, here's where things get a little bit more interesting, because I believe I said at the beginning of the video, or maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but I believe there's like 4 options for NIU. The PAC, NIU's not getting an invite to the Pacific Athletic Conference, but because of what the Mountain West did, the approach that they've supposedly taken with NIU, it's created a pretty interesting situation. And I think what it's actually done is open the door for a couple of other conferences to also kind of look at NIU, how to approach a school like NIU. Football only, you can put a MAC in the Big 12 for football only. Let's just be straight up. You can put NIU in the Big 12 football only. NIU goes back to what they were trying to make happen in 2015, 2016. Where are they going to play these games? Right? Our teams, their fan bases, they travel, we fill stadiums, yada, yada, yada. NIU, Soldier Field. We're not talking about filling Soldier Field. Let's be honest. That's not going to happen. NIU, we can barely fill our own damn stadium. Sad as hell, right? But we're not talking about NIU filling Soldier Field. What it will help with, though, is you can now accommodate for any away team, right? If you're playing NIU, you don't have to worry about playing NIU at Soldier Field. I mean, playing NIU at Husky Stadium or in DeKalb, right? You're not going to have to worry about, okay, so where are we going to fly into? And if NIU plays in Chicago for the next 5 to 10 years, while they're working on building their stadium, they're working on doing this, that, the other, 5 years or 10 years in the Big 12 for NIU would change everything. Everything. Hands down. Simple. 5-10 years, Big 12 NIU. 10 years preferred. The longer we can be there, the better. 10 years preferred. You're transforming not only the football program, not only the athletics department in general, right? You're literally transforming the university in the town. Branding means a lot to people. It means a lot to people. It's a psychology thing. People know the Big 12. That is a brand. That is a name. There are people who watch college sports religiously. There's folks who woke up Saturday morning, 9, 10 a.m., they turn on their TV, and they're just waiting for the games to start. People know the Big 12. Yes, the Big 12 no longer has Texas or Oklahoma, but the Big 12 still has a lot of competitive teams, a lot of competitive schools. So now that you're looking at this situation, what does that mean for a high school senior in the state of Illinois or Wisconsin or Iowa? NIU's an option. It is. And I'm not even talking about like sports recruiting. Like I'm talking about just purely just actually attending the damn school. NIU's an option. NIU's current out-of-state tuition, if I remember correctly, NIU's out-of-state tuition is the same as the in-state tuition. That's where we are as a school. We're not charging you any additional fee because you're coming from Timbuktu to be in our nursing program. They are paying the same damn price as in-state. It's a pretty dang good deal. Why would a kid go there? Oh, Big 12. Oh, there's a Big 12 school. That's a Big 12 school. That stuff means something. I've never heard somebody be like, I'm going to NIU because it's a MAC school. Not in a million damn years. I'm going to NIU because it's a Sun Belt school. I'm going to NIU because they're in Conference USA. No. You put NIU into the damn Big 12, you're going to see an increase in a lot of things. It will change the university. Simple as that. People, what non-Chicagoans have to understand, right? Chicago is a sports city. Simple as that. That's it. Mic drop. Chicago's a sports city. Chicago has, for what I know, ain't never had a college team playing there. Like, we had University of Chicago, which is a charter original Big Ten member, and then they left the Big Ten a long ass time ago, right? It's kind of crazy to think what the University of Chicago could have been today if they were still in the Big Ten, right? But like I said, their focus became purely academic. Football, sports, all that stuff, that's not what you're coming here for. I remember maybe a good 8-ish years ago, branding, marketing. Northwestern has advertisements in Chicago, I mean. Northwestern, Chicago's Big Ten team. Northwestern, Chicago's Big Ten team. And I remember at NIU, we played Northwestern twice. I'm pretty sure. Or at least once for sure. I want to say we did play them a second time. And I'm pretty sure, I think we beat them both times. But NIU, when that whole big game was happening, it was a big deal because it was an in-state FBS level game. You had NIU and the MAC playing Northwestern in the Big Ten at Northwestern, right? So we're all still in-state, right? It's creating a lot of buzz. People went to that game, and they saw a very good NIU team beat Northwestern. Simple as that. Um, People, if it's one thing I know, people will go to a game. If you're telling me I don't have to pay Chicago Bears prices and there's a NIU game, there's going to be at least 6 of them here at Soldier Field, right? There's going to be 6 games we can go to on a Saturday, maybe even a Friday night game or something. But there's 6 of them. Marketing, marketing, marketing. Start the push. Start the push. People don't understand and realize that not everybody that goes to a football game is an alum of a school. Like, not everybody that goes to Michigan football games went to University of Michigan. Not everybody that goes to a Notre Dame game is a Notre Dame alum. People don't understand these things. They think purely your fan base is full of the folks who went there. I think what you end up getting and seeing, I think you get a lot of, you would get a lot of fans who honestly, like they would go. They would go. When people get, when somebody in Rockford has Bears tickets, they're probably going to that Bears game. They're gonna, that's gonna be something that they're planned. That they have planned out, right? We're gonna go to the Bears game, right? They might get their early tailgate. Da 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 da. What I've noticed is NIU alum, like people, sadly, like I went to NIU, but I didn't stay living in DeKalb. I'm basically back in Chicago. And even though, yeah, that's only like an hour and a half drive to DeKalb, it's just less likely to happen. Versus if I'm in Naperville, NIU is playing Oklahoma State, NIU's playing TCU, NIU's playing Iowa State, NIU's playing Kansas, NIU's playing Kansas State, NIU's playing Cincinnati, right? Now it's a little bit different because it's regional. There's plenty of people from Illinois who probably went to Iowa State for school. There's plenty of people from Illinois who went to Kansas, who went to Kansas State. There's people from Illinois, I'm pretty sure, who went to Cincinnati. Oh, my alma mater. Yeah, I'm going to go to that game. Oh, it's at Soldier Field? Dope. You're getting to watch a college football game, but in an NFL stadium. Once again, that's still a lot of that's NIU to the Big 12, and clearly, you see how easy it is to go off on that tangent. But like I said, Mountain West opened up a door that may have, in all honesty, been somewhat of a life raft type of situation for NIU in particular. NIU kind of has to move toward that football only POV. If you're telling me our team is able to come compete in your conference, we are able to make more money than we've ever seen before in the MAC from media rights payouts, whether that be in the Mountain West, whether that be in the Big 12. Like, the Big 12 is always going to be the end goal. Big 12 is always going to be the end goal. But more realistically, Mountain West. I think what also happens now, like I said, I think you're going to see the Pac, Mountain West, you're going to see potentially some shifts in the Big 12 again, because I think the Pac is going to attack and get their teams back. I think that's their main goal. I think that's what they're shooting for. Like, they want to get teams back. And by doing that, it opens up an opportunity in the Big 12. Let me go back and say, let's say not even necessarily for NIU. What's going to happen is the Big 12, they're going to be like, oh, we need to fill. We need to fill. If the Pac takes Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and BYU, let's say they let Colorado stay in the Big 12 because Colorado came from the Big 12. It would be kind of insane for Colorado to leave the Big 12 again. Like, it just don't make sense. That's too much going on. That's too messy. Colorado stays. The Big 12, I see them going after Tulane, Memphis, USF, right? Maybe somebody else. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but Tulane, Memphis, USF, they go after USF because UCF is there, and UCF is doing pretty damn good right now. So USF is able to get in purely because UCF is there, right? You're like, they need one more. They need one more. If the goal is to replace all the teams that are leaving, you want to fill those 4 spots. Here's where it gets kind of weird and interesting at the same time. I think you add Rice. Rice in football, no. Rice baseball, they're up there. Rice academically, huge. Rice is your Stanford. Like, Rice would be the Stanford for Big 12. Like, that's basically what it is. But I actually do honestly think if you can convince Rice to be like, Rice, we want y'all in the Big 12. We want y'all to come home. We want Texas to, we want the Big 12 to still be a dominant Texas conference, right? We have Houston, we got Rice, we got we got right? We want Texas to have a home forever in the Big 12, right? Rice, we want y'all, but at the same time, Rice, we need y'all to throw some money into the damn football program because there's no reason why y'all can't be better at football. Like, y'all definitely can. But I think if the Big 12 goes that direction, if the dominoes and the snowball is going, like the dominoes are falling, the snowball is snowballing, and the Pac gets those teams back, and now you have a void, in a sense, in the Big 12. So the Big 12 goes and cherry picks from the American, as it seems like that's kind of where they go nowadays. Now the American has these openings. That's the other option for NIU. We won't see it happen just yet. We won't see any of this materialize just yet. But I have a good feeling it's going to happen. If the American opens up, if the Mountain West won an NIU in Toledo, and the American is now getting to a point where it's like, yo, every other damn year we're losing schools. Now we just lost another 4. Like, the list of options, the list of options for the American is getting shorter and shorter every day. But now the American, they can only pull from the MAC, Conference USA, Sun Belt. That's kind of it. That's it. Who, out of all of those teams, who are your best options? NIU and Toledo are solid options. You just lost 4 schools. NIU Toledo to the American. You look at Conference USA to see who they may have that they can pull up. You go look at the Sun Belt, see do they have 2 teams that are worth snatching up, and then there you go. So NIU is in a very interesting situation, right? Pac, no, I don't think that's happening. That'd be really odd, but I don't see that one happening. Mountain West could happen. Big 12, that would be the dream. The Lord knows that would be the dream. But the American Athletic Conference, if I had to rank them, American is where NIU should be trying to, that should be the goal right now. American. Mountain West, Big 12. Big 12, of course, is really the king of the hill, but it would take, like I said, a true domino, all sorts of things to pop off for NIU to get that football-only invite to the Big 12. Not saying it ain't possible, but just hear me out. I know this video's going on for a long time. Like, comment, subscribe. You ain't got to subscribe to me, man, but at least like the video. Definitely comment your take on all of this where it comes to realignment. You know, you ain't got to be an NIU fan. Like, I want to hear people, like, if you're a Texas State fan, I want to hear how you feel about this. If you're just if your school is one of the group of 5, group of 6 schools, and you're like, yeah, I'm tired of conferences getting cherry picked and cannibalized and falling apart because da 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 da, right? Comment that. But I want to hear, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? For the Pac, like I said, I think the Pac, their end goal, is to get Stanford, UC Berkeley, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and BYU. Their goal is to get those 6. If they get those 6, I think the Pac is back at power conference level. I think they work out a decent media rights deal. I think it'll end up being either equivalent to or better than what the Big 12 has. And then they, they're good. They're set. That'd be a huge win, I feel like, for Boise State, Colorado State, those schools, right? Because, yeah, they've been mainstays in the Mountain West for a long time, and they got their opportunity. So I'm all for them being able to be a part of the Pac if the Pac can get back to a power conference status and get them a nice piece of the pie. Mountain West Conference, like I said, they're going after Texas State. I think they go after New Mexico State. If NIU and Toledo don't go, this is where it gets interesting, real interesting for the Mountain West. The names you hear associated potentially with the Mountain West. You hear Idaho coming back to the FBS. You hear the Montanas, so that's Montana and Montana State. And you also hear the Dakotas, specifically North Dakota State and South Dakota State. That could be interesting. Those are clearly fits for the Mountain West. But, I also hear people saying, well, the Dakotas don't want to go. Like, they're perfectly fine where they are. Like, they have no interest in jumping up, which kind of seems odd and strange to me, but it be like that sometimes, Maybe it just works for them where they are. But if NIU and Toledo don't go, like I said, Texas State, New Mexico State, I think they pull in Idaho, maybe Sacramento State. It'll be kind of rough for the Mountain West because they're gonna take a hit unless they know something we don't know. If they can renegotiate or strike a new media rights deal that doesn't end up with them taking a loss compared to what they currently had as a payout, right? That's a huge thing, I feel like, and also NIU and Toledo going to the Mountain West. NIU and Toledo can't just make that agreement to join the Mountain West and not even know what the payout is. So I think it's going to be some stipulations, some contingencies, all sorts of stuff. NIU and Toledo need to know, what is the media rights payout going to be before they just uproot themselves from the MAC to join the Mountain West. Of course, like I said, the Big 12, that's just a dream. That's a dream situation and scenario. But for all I know, like I said, the only way openings happen in the Big 12, it would also have to be the Pac taking schools from the Big 12. The ACC, I mean, shit, at this point, if football only is a thing, does it hurt for NIU to get an invite? We're just talking about football. We've played Notre Dame. Notre Dame associates with the ACC. We're playing NC State. That's a straight up ACC team. We're playing NC State today. The game might have started already, but we're playing NC State. NIU's played a few ACC teams over there. We've played Boston College. We played Georgia Tech. We beat Boston College. We beat Georgia Tech. We've played Duke in a bowl game. So I'm like, you know what, NIU and ACC, there's some familiarity. So, but like I said, this whole football only thing kind of opened the door for NIU. I didn't really think was the route, because the big worry has always been NIU can't leave the MAC. We just can't afford it. We can't afford the travel. There's no way in hell we can pay for the football team to travel over here, the basketball team to travel over here, the baseball team to travel up. If the worry is now just football, you telling me we just gotta travel for 4 away conference games? You know, like let's say we were playing Florida State. Okay, we're flying down to Florida State, right? We probably won't take a bus. Or like let's say, I mean, it just works. It works. Football only opens up some options, right? You know, a lot of people will be like, huh? Like they'll be confused, but I'm like, NIU's competitive. NIU has a good team, and they've had a strong, solid program for the last 20 plus years, right? So people should not be shocked when they're hearing Northern Illinois being brought up. And like I said, the American, once again, we're going based off of the pack taken from the Big 12, the pack also taking Stanford and Cal back from the ACC. Well, guess what? You know exactly where the ACC and the Big 12 are most likely going to go to get teams. They're going to the American Conference. So that creates a very legitimate opportunity for NIU and even Toledo. So, like I said, definitely comment. Let me know your thoughts and feelings about all this. I have a strong suspicion that this is how things are going to go by the end of the season. I think between this year and next year, you're going to hear about the pack making a strong push to get their teams back. They're not going to get UCLA, Oregon, USC, or Washington. That's done. That's cooked. The media rights deal in the Big Ten is hands down. I think it's actually the best between the SEC and the Big Ten. Those are numbers that, yeah, they're not leaving. Those numbers are too good. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna see some interesting things happen. NIU found a new road to go down. Like, take us for football only. We'll move the rest of our teams to like the Missouri Valley or Ohio Valley Conference, where, in all honesty, they're a better fit. So, let me know what y'all think. Peace.